All right, everyone, welcome. So excited about today. I'm really excited about some of the things that you're going to see today. Excited to hear your guys' thoughts and feedback on them. So welcome to our Logos feature release and updates webinar, our What's New with Logos webinar, where we show off what's been recently released in the most recent version of Logos and give you a bit of a sneak peek about what's ahead. We're excited to have all of you joining us today. My name is Mike Brown. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Logos. And co-hosting with me today is Mark Barnes. He is the Principal Product Manager for Bible Study Tools here at Logos. And as always, I really love doing this with Mark. I love it's something that I look forward to every 6 weeks. And today is no exception to that. I'm really excited to have Mark walk us through some of the most recently released features and updates, and also share with us what's coming up next. Before I hand things over, I do want to always remind everyone, whether you're a regular or whether you're new to these, that if you have questions, we do spend some time doing Q&A. So if you have a question, emphasis on question. If you have a question, put that in the Q&A section, not the chat. We will, it's really, really hard to follow the chat because there's so much going on and it moves so fast. But if you have a question you'd like for us to address, put that in the Q&A section. And when we have a couple spots to answer those questions, we will. And then I do try to prioritize the questions that are kind of relevant to the things that we're discussing today. So just to give you a heads up, sometimes we typically don't have time to answer all of the questions. And so I try to prioritize the ones relevant to what we're showing off that particular day. But if we do have extra time, I get to some of the others as well and throw those back and forth between Mark and I. Okay. With that said, I want to let you know that today we're going to be showing off what's been released in our latest version, which is version 46, which came out 2 days ago on November 4th. Now, if you're using an older version of Logos and you wonder why yours doesn't look the same, that's likely why. So make sure that if you are on the Logos subscription, that you've done a restart or an update to the newest version. If you're on an older non-subscription version, you might see some differences. Please stay, hang out, look and see what's going on in Logos. You might learn a thing or two, and hopefully it gets you excited about what we're doing and where we're going with Logos. All right, enough of me. I want to hand things over now to Mark so that he can start showing us what's been recently released.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, I am very excited about version 46. I think it's the strongest release we've had for a long time. And we actually had a message from a customer this morning who said that version 46 was the best release we've had for 13 years. So I'll let you judge whether that is true as we go through the demo. But there is lots to show you. And I think the most anticipated feature is probably Study Assistant. But I don't want to start with Study Assistant because there are some other very useful updates that you don't want to miss. So let's start instead with some improvements on mobile. There are 3 things that I want to mention on mobile. Those changes will impact all users. We promised a year ago that we wouldn't forget people who are not yet subscribers, and the mobile changes in version 46, I think, are an example of improvements that everybody benefits from, whether you're a subscriber or not. So the first change that we've made on mobile is to the dashboard. There's been a dashboard on mobile for many years, but although it looked quite similar to the dashboard on desktop and web, it was actually written entirely separately from those. And it meant that when we brought improvements to the dashboard on web and desktop, then mobile didn't get those improvements. But now we're using the same code across all 3 platforms. And that means a more unified experience for you. So if you add a reading plan, for example, to your dashboard on desktop, you should be able to see that on mobile. And it means that mobile will get those future improvements as we bring them. So a lot of the changes are not ones that you'll be able to see because, as I said, we did have something that looked fairly like this before. But you will see some subtle changes. The Logos Plus at the top, for example, wasn't there previously. And that Search Bible and Search All box right at the top, that would be an example of something that we brought to desktop and web a number of months ago, but it wasn't possible to bring that to mobile until we'd consolidated the code across all of the platforms. The other thing that we're bringing to the mobile dashboard for the first time are banners on the dashboard. I know that lots of you like a bargain, and you like to get notifications of things like free book of the month and so on right there on your dashboard. And I don't have an example to show you here right now, but those banners are now coming to mobile for the first time. The other thing that we've done on mobile is to remove the topic guide, or to retire the topic guide. So just to be very clear, the topic guide is still available on Logos desktop, but the mobile version has been retired. And the reason for that is that the mobile version of topic guide was much less full-featured than the desktop one, and almost all the data available in the topic guide we'd already made available in Factbook over the last year or so. And we don't really like users having to choose, well, do I use the topic guide, do I use the Factbook, what are the differences between them, which one should I choose? It's better not to have to worry about questions like that. So now you know that on mobile you can go to the Factbook, no need to go to the topic guide any longer. You can see from my screen here that we do still have topic guide in the guides menu, and we've done that just so that people who are perhaps not aware of the change, they haven't watched this webinar, they'll still be able to get to where they need to go. And that's similar to what we've done on desktop with the counseling guide and the theology guide recently. So if I try to open the topic guide from here, what's going to happen is Factbook is going to open instead. You can see that message right at the top of Factbook there that explains it's now part of Factbook. You can click a link to a support article to get more information if you need to. And then you can see the normal Factbook entry. Now, as we've made this change, the one area that where we did need to improve Factbook was the preaching resources section. So if I scroll all the way down and find that right here near the bottom. So there was a preaching resources section in Factbook before, but it wasn't as comprehensive as the one that we had in the mobile topic guide. So we've now improved that section. And you can see here that we're breaking up the different resources into these sections of reference and practical and biblical. Excuse me. And you'll see that the reference books covers things like concordances and glossaries and dictionaries and so on. The practical section includes things like devotionals and hymnals and illustrations, the sorts of things that you might want to kind of drop into your sermon perhaps, or use in your own devotions. Biblical then covers things like commentaries and biblical theologies. And of course, you can tap on those and drill down and get more information from your library. So again, just to be very clear, the retiring the topic guide is something that we've done on mobile, but these improvements to the preaching resources section are on every platform, mobile, desktop, and web. Okay, so those are the three improvements that I wanted to show you on my iPad: the redesigned dashboard, the retiring of topic guide, and the improved preaching resources section of Factbook. I now want to switch across to my Windows laptop, and there I'll be able to show you some other changes. So the first thing that we've done here on desktop is we've made life a little bit easier for new customers, especially who want to buy Logos books from within the app. So here is a book that I don't yet own, Recalling the Hope of Glory. And you can see that there's a buy now button up here. Now, this particular account that I'm using to show you this with doesn't have a credit card on file. So up until now, it wasn't possible for someone without a card on file, or maybe their credit card had expired or had been removed from the account. It wasn't possible for them to use these buttons within the app. But now when we click those buttons, you'll see that in a moment you'll get the opportunity to add a new payment method before you complete your purchase. So again, that improvement is for everyone, not just for subscribers, and might save you a few clicks maybe in the future. Eagle-eyed viewers among you might have noticed something else that's new on this screen here, and that's this giant tab button here in the layout. Now you're going to see that button again, whether or not you're a subscriber, but what happens when you click the button will be different for subscribers due to work that we released a few months ago. So what happens when you click the button? Well, in some ways, nothing new. It's exactly the same as if you click this tiny little new tab button here. So if I click this one, you'll see it opens the new tab. It's showing me, again, as we've demoed previously, things that I've opened recently, things that I open frequently as well, and I can type in anything that I want. And exactly the same thing happens when I click this giant tab button as well. So the benefit really is to help you when you've got an empty layout or nearly an empty layout to be able to add those tabs in more quickly than you might otherwise do so. There's a couple of advantages of using new tab, I think. The first is that new tab, it will go in exactly that spot. I know some people have complained over the years, oh, I opened a book from the library and it didn't go to where I wanted it to go. So by clicking on these buttons, that really helps you to get that, that book or that tool in exactly the right spot for you. The other advantage, perhaps, is it doesn't matter whether you want to open a tool or a book or a document, you can do it all from the new tab. So it's kind of one place to go. You don't even have to think a little bit, which menu do I go for, or any of that. You can just open the new tab and you'll be able to jump straight to what you want. Now, what I've described here about the new tab functionality in this list, this is for subscribers only. So if you're not a subscriber and you click the new tab button, you'll get the old new tab experience, if that makes sense, that we've had in Logos for some time. It's still useful. You'll still be able to open some books from there, but you won't get the kind of full-featured experience that subscribers are getting. Okay, so those are some desktop improvements, but the next improvement I want to show you is across all platforms again, because this is an improvement to Factbook. Because what we've done in Factbook is we've added a new section called, sorry, let me go back to that one and drag this one over here. I should have used the new tab button, shouldn't I, instead of using my shortcut and got it in the right place. So we have added a new section to Factbook called Questions to Ask. And this section is generated by AI, and it gives you questions that you can ask either about the topic in Factbook or about the Bible passage. Let me scroll down a bit so you can see some of the questions here. And it will display 5 questions by default, as you can see, but I can click the More button here, and then I get a bunch of other questions as well. So quite a lot of questions that will help you to think through the topic that we're discussing here on this Factbook page. Now, you'll see these questions whether or not you're a subscriber. Everyone gets to see these questions. And there's a few ways in which I found these questions helpful as I've been using Factbook over the last few weeks in testing of this. Often the questions draw me in. So sometimes there are questions I think, oh, that's intriguing. How does God's sovereignty relate to evangelism as perhaps one example of that? And maybe when I was on the evangelism page, that wasn't a topic that I immediately thought of, but now the kind of question comes up and you think, oh yeah, that's a good point. I'd like to know more about that. And as you can see, what I've done here is I've clicked on the question, and I do have to wait a few seconds, but in a moment I will get an answer to that question. I'll say more about that when it comes up. So the other thing that has been useful to me about having these questions in Factbook is sometimes if I'm explaining a particular topic or a passage, maybe to a small group Bible study, maybe to a congregation if I'm preaching on a Sunday, it's good to think about the sorts of questions that people ask about these topics and make sure I'm covering those well in my study. Maybe I'm going to ask people in my study group these questions. So if I was doing a study on evangelism, you know, having questions like, what does the Bible say about sharing faith? How can Christians overcome fear in evangelism? Those are great questions just to drop straight into my study. But even if I'm preaching a sermon, I might thinking to myself, yeah, these are typical questions people are asking. Let's make sure that my sermon covers what the Bible says. Let's make sure my sermon covers how we can overcome fear, because these are common questions that people might ask. Now, these questions will be different in different lenses. So I'm in the all lens at the moment, so I can see all of the questions that AI has generated. But if I switch to the biblical lens, then I'm getting questions more related to the Bible. If I switch to the theology lens, I'll get some theological questions like that one about God's sovereignty. And if I'm on the counseling lens, then I'm going to get questions that are about very practical topics related to how doctrines or concepts touch our lives. Now, let's go back to all and to that question that we looked at earlier on. And you can see here, this will probably be fairly familiar to those of you who have been using Smart Synopsis, because the answers to those questions look very similar, don't they, to the sorts of things you get in Smart Synopsis. So what's actually happening behind the scenes here is that Logos is running a smart search on this question for you, and then it's generating an answer using Smart Synopsis technology, and it's suggesting an answer from the Logos library. You can see here, just as we do in Smart Synopsis, you've got the various footnotes that you can look up. Now, there is a limitation at the moment with Smart Search, that if you don't own the book, you won't get a resource preview, but our engineers are working on that, and they will be fixing that hopefully shortly. So you'll still get a resource preview when you don't own a book, but right now it does work when you do own the book. Okay, so if you're a subscriber, you will get access to all of the questions and all of the answers. Viewing an answer will use AI credits, but just looking at the questions won't use any credits at all. Looking at the questions is free. And if you're not a subscriber, you'll see all of the questions, and you'll see the answer to the first question on the all lens. But you'd need to subscribe then if you wanted to get answers to the other questions. Okay, there you can see a footnote from a resource that I do own, and just like Smart Synopsis, those footnotes give you the exact text within that particular source that the AI used to generate the sentence that's highlighted in blue. So you can see there are similarities there. You can check that for yourself. We really do want you to check what the AI is saying. That's why we've invested so much in putting these footnotes in, trying to make the footnotes as precise as possible for you, because we want you to have confidence in the answers, and not just to go by what the AI says, but to be able to use the AI to get right into your books, and to be able to see what human writers have been saying over the years. Now, there is still one more feature that I need to show you, and that finally is Study Assistant. Now, Study Assistant is exclusive to subscribers, and there are a few different ways in which you can get to Study Assistant. But one of those ways is to click Ask a Follow-up Question here in Factbook. So when I do that, I was looking at the what are effective ways to share the gospel question. You can see that question gets copied over into Study Assistant, and exactly the same answer that I had in Factbook, I now get over here. But what I'm able to do new in Study Assistant is I'm able to continue the conversation using this box down the bottom. So if I save me typing, just paste in another question. I want you to look at this blue box here. You can see it says search in all the books, just flashed up very briefly, because again, what's happening in the background is we're taking the conversation, and particularly the question that you've just asked, and we're using that to generate a smart search in the background, actually a couple of smart searches to try and really get the best results. And then using those results to help us with this answer then. So we're sending the content of that smart search to the AI to be able to generate this question. So like the other chat apps that perhaps you're used to, again, we can continue to ask questions. So maybe I might want to follow this up by asking, what does the Bible itself say? And it's going to use the context. It knows we're talking about evangelism, so it's going to look at what the Bible says about evangelism in this case. And in a moment, we'll get that through. Now, what's happened in this case is we haven't run a smart search in the background because we've been asking about what the Bible says. So we're now using smart Bible search as well as smart search to be able to generate the answers to this particular question. So you can see here some of the citations come from books like this one. Some of the citations come from Bible passages like this one, and these at the end. So there's two things going on in the background to really help make sure that we give you a comprehensive answer to the question. Now, if you want to, you can copy the answer. Can you see there's a little copy button right here down the bottom? If I click on that, that's now copied to the clipboard. Let's just show you that has worked by going into notes. I'll create a new note and paste that in. There we go. So here's all of that, all the hyperlinks and everything get retained when you do that. So you can paste into your notes or obviously into sermons or even a Word document, whatever you want to do. And by default, you can see that Study Assistant uses all Logos books to answer your question, just like all search does. But right down here at the bottom, you can see that there's a little selector where I can switch between all books and just the books that I own. So if I switched to your books and then maybe type in another question, what does it mean to be a disciple of, or to make disciples of all nations? That was referenced up here in Matthew. So it's going to search just my books now. Again, you might have noticed it said that in that little blue bubble. So this time, instead of getting little lock icons when I hover over these footnotes, I'm going to get that exact text each time. So that from the ESV Global Study Bible, this one from the CSB Study Bible. So again, it's just getting results from my own books. Now, just to be clear, there's a bit of a trade-off here, and you can make your own decision as to which of these you want to go for. Particularly if you've got a small library, you might find your answers are not quite as comprehensive if you restrict them to your own books. But on the other hand, I think there are at least two benefits of searching only your own books. Firstly, the answers are probably more likely to reflect your own theology and preferences because your library probably reflects your own theology. And the second benefit, of course, is that you know that you'll be able to look up all the citations and check them for yourself, which we always encourage you to do. Okay, now just to be clear, this is not an all-purpose chatbot in the way that ChatGPT is, and there's certain questions that it just won't answer. So I'm typing here, write me a sermon on evangelism. So we'll watch this little blue bubble again. It doesn't bother to search at that point at all. It just apologizes and says, well, that's not really what I'm designed to do. What I'm designed to do is to help you explore biblical and theological questions by providing information from your library, not to create original content. But it also does try to be helpful in that scenario. I can help you gather background information or biblical passages or theological insights on the topic of evangelism. So it does try to be helpful, and I could type in yes and get all of those, or I could say, oh, let's do theological insights. And then obviously it will give me some theological insights then from my books that I could potentially use in my sermon or whatever it is that I was doing. Okay, what have I not shown you yet? Yes. If you want to create a new conversation, then there is a new button up here. If I click that, I will lose the conversation that I have on the screen, and I'll be able to start a new conversation from scratch. Every time you hit new, you'll get some suggestions. I thought this said, why do Christians eat fast food then? That must have been the hamburger question from Mike. It confused me. Why do Christians fast from food is what it was suggesting. Might be an interesting question to ask. And of course, if you want to ask that question, you can just click on it. And that can be quite fun sometimes, just exploring different questions. But of course, you can also create your own. Now, one type of question that's worth mentioning that you haven't seen up until now, let me create a new conversation again. And I'm asking a question here as, what does John Piper say about joy? I should have just, let me just stop that and ask that question again, because what I did is I was only searching my own books when I did that. And this is a very small library that I'm demonstrating this with, and I didn't have any John Piper books in my library. So I've switched now back to all books, and I'll ask that same question again. What does John Piper say about joy? So what the AI hopefully is going to do for us now is recognize that we're looking at a particular author and we're interested in him. And hopefully, rather than searching all of the books that Logos owns, it will restrict the search just to books authored by John Piper. So it understands something about what you're trying to do and then tries to create a query that's useful for that. If you didn't want that, and you may be more interested in what other people say that John Piper says about joy, then it asks, would you like me to search your entire library instead? And I could answer yes to that, and then it will make that change for me. Now, you can do something similar. It's not just author names that the AI should understand. It should understand book titles, I think publishers and series and publication dates, I think all should be understood as well. But you do have to spell the name exactly right. We are looking to make improvements in this in the future and make this a little bit more flexible, make it more adaptable to your needs. But right now, if you spell the name of the book or the author exactly correctly, you should be able to constrain this. I know a number of users have asked, I've seen one already asking in the Q&A whether it be possible to make your own selection down here, maybe to a collection that you've created, and that's something we're seriously considering for the future. So if that's something that's useful to you, do let us know, and we might be able to add that in the future. I know another thing that people are asking is whether it's possible to get back to old conversations. And the answer at the moment is sort of. We are saving your conversations, so nothing that you've asked will be lost. However, at the moment, it's not possible to load those earlier conversations on the desktop app. Our developers have actually written the feature to do that, but we just missed the cutoff date for desktop to get that out to you last Tuesday. We didn't want to delay everything because we think that what we have is still really useful to you. But if you're desperate to view old chats, that is possible on the web app. So you can go there and view your old chats. And it doesn't matter whether you created the chat on the desktop app or the web app, it's available there for you on the web app, and you'll be able to load that. I'll show you that a little bit later, how you do that. But that is coming to desktop, but not until the next release, I'm afraid. Okay, I mentioned that it's possible to get to Study Assistant from the Ask a Follow-Up Question part of Factbook, but there's a couple of other ways you can get to Study Assistant as well. Firstly, you can get there from the Tools menu. So you can see Study Assistant is here at the top of Tools menu, and you can dig down if you prefer, but we've pinned it to the top for you, so you can get there straight from there. And then the final place to get to Study Assistant is from Smart Synopsis. So let's ask our when was Augustine born demo question. And as you'll expect, as we ask this question, we get a smart synopsis rather generated. And you can see at the bottom of Smart Synopsis now, there is an option to continue in Study Assistant. And again, it will take your question, it will take the synopsis that you've got, and it kind of copies that across into Study Assistant and allows you then to follow up and continue asking questions. So if you've been frustrated that when you're in Smart Synopsis, oh, this is really helpful, I'd like to dig deeper, you can now continue in Study Assistant and dig deeper over there. Now, Study Assistant uses AI credits whenever you ask a question, but we don't deduct credits when you copy a conversation from Search or you copy a conversation from Factbook over to Study Assistant. It's only when you ask additional questions after that that you'll use AI credits. So Study Assistant is available to subscribers today, since Tuesday, on desktop and web. It's not yet available on mobile. It should be coming to mobile in December. And if you haven't already guessed, I'm incredibly excited about Study Assistant. We've been working on it for more than a year. And to pull it off, we've brought together lots of the new technology we've built recently. I don't know if you saw that as we were going through. So Smart Search, we released about 18 months ago. Smart Synopsis about 12 months ago. Smart Bible Search then roughly 6 months ago. And now Study Assistant uses all of that technology and brings it together in this single tool and extends it further, lets you chat naturally about the questions that you have. So we're you can see how new features that we add in can kind of accumulate and enable us to do even more useful and cool stuff in the future. So we're really looking forward to see how you all make great use of Study Assistant. We're looking forward to suggestions about how it can be further improved. And we've already got things in the pipeline to improve Study Assistant for version 47 and almost certainly into version 48 as well. So don't expect this to remain static. We know that you'll want improvements, and we're committed to bringing those to you if they're useful at all. Okay, that's all from me for now. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, we have a lot of good questions. There is definitely a theme with some of these, so I'm gonna start with one of the themes that I'm seeing quite a lot here. So there's a lot of questions around AI credits. And so Mark, maybe you could take a couple of minutes and really cover, I mean, we have people asking, what are AI credits, right? So could you even just cover what AI credits are, what they're used for, how does somebody get them, and how do they keep track of them? And then another question that came in, I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, is will there be an ability to get more of them, especially as we add new features that are using more AI?
Yeah. Okay. I'll do my best to try and remember all of those questions.
I'll help you out.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you have Logos, you can come to this menu and you can see there's a link here that tells you how many credits you've used, and you can click on that link and it will open a support article that does give you the information that I'm trying to give you now. So if you need that in the future, we do have a support article all about monthly AI credits there. But effectively, AI is expensive to run. I know that OpenAI offer ChatGPT for free, but believe it or not, even when OpenAI charge users $200 a month for ChatGPT Pro, they lose money on every single customer that they have, because people want to use it so much. So it's expensive to use, and as a consequence then we can't simply let everybody use it for free. But we really don't want to kind of stop you from getting the benefit. So what we've done is we've given all subscribers a pretty generous AI credit limit. There's hundreds of people on this call. I'd be surprised if more than 3 or 4 people on this call have ever used their AI credit out for a month if they're a subscriber. They're pretty generous. And the idea simply is for us just to make sure that people are not running away and with costs, and we can control those costs. If you have a Logos Pro subscription, you'll have twice as many AI credits as you do on a premium subscription. And if you have a Max subscription, you'll have 50% more than you do on Pro. So one way of getting more credits, if you really need them, would be to upgrade your subscription. We don't yet have a way of, if you're on Max and you still run out of credits, it's so unusual that happens. We haven't needed that. If you're super excited by Study Assistant and you kind of blow through all your credits by asking hundreds and hundreds of questions, and you would need to ask hundreds and hundreds of questions to do that. I think if you're a Max subscriber, you could use Study Assistant more than 300 times before you would hit your limits. So as I said, it is fairly generous, but those numbers may change over time. We might be able to perhaps reduce costs a little bit and pass those savings on to you. We'd hope to be able to do those sorts of things in the future. So don't expect that figure I've quoted to remain the same all the time. But as I said, it's pretty generous. If you do run out, you can upgrade your subscription. If we find there's lots of Max subscribers who are hitting the limits, then we will look again at those limits. Maybe we'll offer a kind of add-on package. I don't know. But at the moment, they're sufficiently generous that hardly anyone who is a subscriber is hitting those limits. Did I miss anything?
No, I was impressive, Mark. I was ready and waiting to throw the ones that you missed at you, but you caught them all. So well done on that. Okay. John asks, what is the difference between, I like this is a really good practical question. What is the difference between Smart Book Search and Study Assistant? And then goes on to say, it seems I get better results with the same question in Smart Book Search. Plus I can specify specific collections, right? Which has come up throughout this session here. Yeah, maybe you could help people. This is one of the wonderful things about Logos, and also can be one of the things that's challenging for people in Logos, right? There are multiple ways to do things. And I think a lot of people are just wondering, okay, but what's the best way for me to do things?
Yeah. And unfortunately, the answer of that is going to be, it depends. So we want AI to be an assistant to you. That's why we've named this tool Study Assistant, because it's there to help you. So if you're somebody who is pretty confident about creating really good search queries, you might say, well, I don't want Study Assistant to do that for me. I'd rather create my own search and then use Smart Synopsis instead, and perhaps continue a conversation in Study Assistant if I want to, because you might say, I want to do that job of making sure I've got great search results.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe you don't want to have to think about that. Maybe your question's a relatively straightforward one. Maybe you're new to Logos and you don't want to have to kind of worry about that. Well, you guys can go straight to Study Assistant. Study Assistant then will do its own search on your behalf and give you the answers. It will also choose, as we said before, do I run a smart search? Do I run a smart Bible search? Do I run both of those? And it does all that for you in a way that Smart Synopsis and Smart Search doesn't do. So for some people, that's great. One less thing to worry about. For someone else, they're going to say, hey, I'm smarter than AI. I can figure that out for myself. And you've got those choices to go either way, depending on how much control you want to have over the search that's being executed.
Great. Love that. Great answer, Mark. A handful of follow-up AI questions came in. One of them is, do AI credits roll over from month to month, or are they just reset?
They are just reset. The idea, again, is it's not that you're kind of paying for 60 credits or whatever it is. The idea really is just to have a kind of a cap to control our costs. That's all it is.
Yep. And then another one was, do more complex questions use more credits than a simpler question?
They do not. No, we've chosen to make every question use the same number of credits, and I think that's to be easier for everyone. You'll get a sense, I think, over time of how long it takes, how many questions you need to ask before the credit limit ticks up by 1%, and that'll hopefully give you a feel for it.
Yeah, and I think anybody that's has started using AI over the last year or two is probably starting to learn, I can be more efficient. There's a learning curve there too. How do I ask the right questions? How do I give it the right prompts? So it's a good point. Continuing on the theme with AI, are there any AI features that can be used to recommend books on specific topics relevant to my current sermon in progress? I love this question, Jeff. Thanks for asking it. Research, etc.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot internally, and it's something we would like to do. We don't have that capability right now. If you do ask a question like that, what Study Assistant will try to do often is to look inside your books to see if those authors are recommending other books. So sometimes you might get some useful results from that. Maybe you'll come across a book review, or you'll come across maybe some recommendations of commentaries that you could read on a book, those sorts of things. But we'd love to be able to go straight to our catalog and be able to recommend stuff from there. That's something we're considering for the future, but it's not something that's possible right now.
All right. Which AI model is used in Logos to power the Study Assistant?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do have an article on our support website, and maybe we can drop that into the chat a little bit later. But it talks about how Logos uses AI. You could just Google how does Logos use AI, and I think you'll get to it fairly easily. So we use a variety of models, and we do change models fairly frequently as different ones come out. And Study Assistant doesn't use a single model. It actually uses multiple models in the background for different parts of the process, and depending on what's going on, it will use at least 2 different models, sometimes 3 or 4. So there's lots going on in the background. So it's not kind of as simple as what single model is it using. But just to be clear, and the article that you'll see will make this clear, we don't have our own kind of Logos model, as it were, because to do that, we would need a ton of training data to create our own model. And that training data would not be data that we would own. We would have to use your data from your notes or your sermons, or we'd have to use our authors' data from their books to be able to train a model, and that wouldn't be right for us to do that. So instead of that, we use off-the-shelf models, but then we're supplying those models temporarily with Logos content in order to be able to answer the questions. And we have a contract with those providers that as soon as that question's been answered, then anything that we've sent to them is deleted. It's not used to train their models. It's not retained by them. And therefore, you can be confident that your favorite author's data is being used in appropriate ways. Any data of your own is also being used in appropriate ways. And we're not using your data to train AI for the benefit of other people.
Yeah, that's good. I really appreciate you going into that detail, Mark, because I know that there's a wide spectrum of feelings and thoughts and convictions around AI, and I think hopefully what everybody heard there when Mark was saying that was that like we really take this very seriously, and we really try to be very thoughtful and conscientious about how we handle our use of AI, and we'll continue to do so. So that's great. All right, some other practical AI questions. Will the AI get faster? Right now, it does take a little while to generate some results. We saw, Mark, that you were doing a search. Yeah, I was going to make a joke about I would love
to speed that up, and it is something I have asked our engineers to look at. Partly it's just there's so much going on in the background. Sometimes we are running 2 or 3 searches to be able to generate those results. So it's the time taken for the search, plus then the time taken to analyze those results and get them ready. So it might be that by improving the speed of Smart Search, that would then have a knock-on effect of Study Assistant. So there's different things that we're looking at that we hope will help, but there aren't any easy solutions right now, but it's definitely something we're aware of and want to fix.
Excellent. Okay. Mark, I'm looking at the clock and we're about 13 minutes till the top of the hour. I want to make sure that you have some time to show off what's coming next. Should you blaze through it, we'll go ahead and tackle some more questions. But let's do that next. I want to give Mark some time to show us what's coming up.
Fantastic. Okay, let me just get my get ready. Here we go.
While you're doing that, Mark, there was one question that came in that I thought was fantastic, and that is, shouldn't it say my books instead of your books?
We
Brian.
that's as controversial as the hamburger question. A long time ago, before I joined, a certain Bob Pritchett decided that your was appropriate because logos is not you. It is talking to you, so it is your books. So that is the logic, and you can blame Bob for that.
Yeah, we'll put Bob's email in the chat.
That's right. That's right. So as I always say in the webinars at this point, everything that I've shown you up until now is already available in the app. You can use it today. But what I'm about to show you in the next few minutes has not yet been released. You won't be able to do the things that I'm going to show you just yet, but you will be able to do them when the next version releases, which is should be mid-December, 6 weeks' time, roughly. So there's two things especially that I want to give you a sneak peek of. So we talked earlier about the accessing prior conversations in Study Assistant. So you can see here, these are prior conversations that I've had, and then they're all available to me in Study Assistant. And I can just click on one and go back to that conversation and load it up. So as I said earlier, we are saving your conversations already. On the web app, you can go and access those old conversations, even the ones you created on desktop, and that feature will be coming to the desktop app in version 47 in December. The other thing that you can do here is you can find conversations. So if I type in here election, let's say, then it's going to look through all of my old conversations to try and find conversations that have mentioned that word. You can see sometimes there's a match maybe in the name of the conversation, but it's also searching the actual content of that conversation as well. So on this Thomas Boston question here, you can see that election is mentioned in the answer, even though it's not in the name, and we're still able to find that for you. Okay, now I can't show you this here just yet, but in version 47, we'll be bringing Study Assistant to mobile. And as I've mentioned, we'll also be opening it up so that people who are not yet subscribers can try it out free of charge. So that is also come in. But there's one other improvement outside of Study Assistant that I want to show you today, and that is in Factbook. So in Factbook, there's lots of information in Factbook about Bible passages, but rather less information about extra biblical writings. And I know some people care a lot about extra biblical writings and find those helpful to help them to better understand the Bible, or to understand church history, or ancient culture, whatever it might be. And one of the things that we hear very often is, I'm sure Logos carries Clement's letter to the Corinthians, but I can't find it in my library. We hear that all the time. So Factbook now, or at least in version 47, will do a much better job of helping you with that kind of thing. So here's First Clement. If I go to the Factbook page in the next version of Logos and I scroll down a bit, you will see two sections. So firstly, the commentary section will now work for non-biblical texts in the same way that it works for biblical texts. So you might not even have thought, I wonder if I've got any commentaries on 1 Clement, but yeah, Logos carries 3 commentaries on the first epistle of Clement, and you can see them there. And if you own them, you can obviously read them. Otherwise, you'll get a link for you can buy them. But what you can also do is we have this brand new section called texts, where we're giving you access to the texts of, in this case, the first epistle of Clement. Now, this letter, it's one of the oldest letters from the church fathers. It dates all the way back, we think, to the end of the 1st century. It's interesting to see, even at that very early stage, what was going on in the different churches. But you can see perhaps from the different book titles here that we have, that if I just went into the library and typed First Epistle of Clement, I wouldn't necessarily get these books coming up. it's not necessarily obvious, perhaps, to everyone that the first epistle of Clement is in this particular volume of the Ante-Nicene Fathers, or whatever else it might be. So this new section in Factbook is really going to help you, I think, to find those different extra biblical texts. Obviously, here we're showing you translations of those texts in English, but we also will show you Greek or Latin or Syriac, Hebrew and Aramaic in some cases, as well then as various other modern languages, which you'll see later. So this works with all kinds of different write-ins. So maybe some of you have heard of the Code of Hammurabi. That would be another example. So if I come down here in just a second, it will give me various translations of Hammurabi's laws. That's not a book I have right now, but oh, maybe I do. Is it coming? You should see it in a second. Maybe it's one that I haven't yet downloaded, and it's needing to do that. But you could do it for things like the Gospel of Thomas. Let's try that one. The so-called Gospel of Thomas, I probably should say. So again, that's maybe something you're familiar with, deemed heretical. But again, you can see, right, if I want to read this for myself, maybe people are talking about it, I want to see it for myself, I can find the translations, I can find Greek versions, Coptic versions, etc. So again, for those of you who are working with these texts, maybe in an academic setting, or maybe you come across them as you're reading up on biblical passages, you want to see these things for yourself, but you're not sure where they are in Logos, Factbook now, or Factbook in December, will make it much easier for you to find those texts and any commentaries on them. It does also work for Bible references as well. So if I was to type in Genesis 1, for example, then the commentary section obviously already worked for biblical texts, but we do also get a texts section as well for Bible passages. So again, if you're somebody who's kind of struggles to find your way around the library a little bit, and you're not sure, for example, well, how do I get to the Septuagint? Then this might be an easy way for you to see which editions of the Septuagint you own, which editions of the Hebrew Bible do you own, and be able to find the ones that you want, and even to compare the English Bibles as well, as a quick link to the text comparison tool. So all that you should be able to look forward to in version 47, which comes again in about 6 weeks' time in mid-December. Back to you, Mike.
Okay. Aaron was just noticing that in Factbook, we're adding more. It's starting to crowd a little bit. Is there ever going to be an option to have like an icon only setting to maybe free up some space?
Yeah, I think in Factbook that can be an issue, and you can sort of run out of space if you've got a very narrow window. Let me just try and resize this window, and you'll see what I mean. So I think this is what he's talking about, that things drop off here and end up on that. Yeah, we do something a little bit different on the dynamic toolbar. On the dynamic toolbar, at least on the second level of the toolbar, if I really squeeze that right down, you can see that we do then switch to an icon-only view over here. We haven't done so on contents simply because we don't need to, but if that was smaller, then that label disappears. So maybe we can do something like that in Factbook as well, possibly. That might be something for us to consider. And I think from the question as well, maybe he was thinking that might be useful at the top. I think up here it's a little bit more difficult because we don't have any icons at the moment. Might be difficult to think about what icons would work for all of those, but I'll certainly pass that feedback on to our UX team.
Yeah, good feedback. All right, let's see here. Early on, you went over the buy now feature. Does the buy now take us to the shopping cart if there is already a cart on file? And they were just making a statement like, I don't want to accidentally purchase something, right?
If you have a card on file and you hit buy now, it gives you a sort of 5-second opportunity to cancel that. And if you don't cancel in that time, it will purchase straight away for you. There is a button that you can click to learn more, and that will take you to logos.com, and then you can go through the checkout in the normal way, and you can be sort of confident you know exactly what you're doing. But in the app, we've sort of streamlined it to try and get you those books as soon as possible. So buy now does mean buy now in the desktop app.
It is literal, yes, right. Trying to eliminate all the steps. We did get a lot of feedback before of people saying it was taking too many steps to get to there. So this is good. All right. Our print books that we've added to our libraries, are they included in AI smart searches and the questions to ask?
Yeah, so questions to ask will always use the whole Logos ecosystem. It doesn't prioritize your own books. It uses all of the books. So in Study Assistant itself, you've got that little selector down the bottom, the switch between all books and your books. If you choose your books, that will include Logos books that you've bought or you get with your subscription, and it will also include print library books. So print library books are part of your books.
Excellent. Okay. I'd like to know if the return synopsis from a smart search brings back a word for word from any given book, or if it synthesized informations that is it being summarized, Mark?
Yes. So we're trying not to plagiarize the text of the books themselves, particularly when some of that content is coming from books that you don't own. So we are asking the AI to kind of not to plagiarize effectively. So it is rewording as anyone I think else would do if you were looking at a source. But as I tried to show you earlier, you can hover over those footnotes. If you own that book, then you will get the exact text of that book in the footnote, and you'll be able to very quickly see for yourself, oh, here's what the author said, here's what the AI has said, double check that it's correct and it's representing that accurately for you.
Excellent. Okay. I just looked up at the clock. We are at time, and I try to be very, very, very aware of everyone's time and valuing your time. So I'm going to quickly close this up here. If you are not a Logos user, or maybe you're using an old version, maybe you're not on subscription yet and you'd like to consider it, just go to logos.com/WNWL, logos.com/WNWL. That's just short for what's new with Logos. And you can see the newest subscription version there. Also, if you do want to talk to somebody about customizing your library inside of Logos, there were a lot of questions today about, can I restrict the types of resources that Logos is giving me back? You do that by controlling what is in your library, right? Like Logos is agnostic in terms of theological perspectives and all of that. It's simply using the resources in your library as fuel for the engine, if you will. So if you want to have somebody help you customize your library, I really highly recommend you giving our sales team a call. We have library experts there that can answer those questions for you. I'm going to ask Carly, our producer, to put the number in the chat for you, so that way you can grab that real quick. But I highly recommend calling them if you want to customize your library. All right, everyone, that is a wrap for today's What's New with Logos webinar. Mark, as always, thank you so much for showing off the latest and greatest in Logos. And a huge thank you to all of you for your participation and engagement. I love interacting with you in the chat and in the Q&A and answering your questions. I appreciate the laughs from all of you and just the fun that we get to have with you. So thank you so much. And I really want to say this, your questions, and hopefully you saw this demonstrated today, your questions, your feedback, your suggestions, they really do drive us to continually improve and enhance Logos. So please don't be shy with those. So we really do appreciate it. We're grateful for you. Thank you again for joining us. And until next time, happy studying, everyone.